So what exactly is the balance sheet recession about? Actually, it's pretty straightforward. It means that after a bubble bursts, the balance sheets of companies and households get wrecked because your assets shrink dramatically, and you might even end up with negative equity. After you pay off your mortgage, your house is worth less than before you took out the loan. So why would you bother paying it back, right? This has already happened in Hong Kong and mainland China. The issue of negative equity is very prominent. So people just stop spending. What does that mean? For companies and households, their main goal is no longer to maximize profits, but to minimize their debts. This is exactly what's starting to happen in China today. That's why you'll see a lot of companies collapsing, like Suning, HNA, and Fosun. Why are they collapsing? These companies aren't creating value. They're heavily in debt. Take Suning as a typical example. After 2015, its main business wasn't profitable. It was propped up by piling on debt, but now to pay off debts. If their debts can't be rolled over, can't be extended, can't be refinanced, then these companies are actually insolvent. They're what we call zombie companies, and they simply can't survive. So, in China right now, companies like Suning, HNA, Evergrande, Country Garden, and many other private enterprises, even state-owned enterprises, and local government financing vehicles, are all in the same situation. Guizhou has basically given up, and even Yunnan has started diverting social security funds, pension funds, and medical insurance funds. This just shows that local governments have really run out of options. They no longer care about fiscal discipline. As long as there's money, they'll reach for it. This is an extremely dire situation. So what can be done? Everywhere, government finances are already in serious trouble, which shows just how immense the debt pressure is. In this situation, everyone's main goal is to reduce debt, to do everything possible to pay off what's owed and lower the debt burden. But reducing debt isn't about expanding production or maximizing profits, even if interest rates drop to zero. What does that mean? It means borrowing money comes with no interest. So think about it. If borrowing money doesn't cost any interest, if you don't have to pay anything extra and can use it for free, then why wouldn't you borrow? Because you realize there's a problem. Your debt is too high, and your operational capacity, your DCF cash inflows, just can't cover your debts. So interest isn't even the issue. The real problem is your weak operational ability, meaning overall demand is shrinking. Japan experienced shrinking demand in the past, and now China is facing the same thing. That's why I think it's crucial for everyone to look at this book. This situation is exactly what Richard Koo described in his book on balance sheet recessions, explaining Japan's downturn. In the past, everyone talked about macroeconomics, US-led economists, with Stiglitz as a representative. How did they explain Japan's recession? They believed the government's monetary policy wasn't strong enough. Not enough money was pumped into the economy. He argues monetary policy is useless. If there's insufficient effective demand, and people are deleveraging in a deflationary environment, businesses aren't taking out loans and are desperately paying off debts. This mirrors China today. In such a situation, injecting money is pointless. It won't be borrowed. Banks want to lend, but ordinary people and businesses don't want to borrow. They just want to pay off debts. It's like today. Nobody wants to buy houses, and even with lower interest rates, everyone rushes to pay off mortgages. Last month's data shows that out of over $700 billion in long-term loans, there was a reduction of over $100 billion. This reduction mainly came from mortgages. Don't think that the reduction of $119 billion in mortgages is a minor event. It's actually extremely significant. Why is that? Because mortgages are the most important and highest quality assets on a bank's balance sheet. If ordinary people pay off all their mortgages, banks will be under a lot of pressure. Banks rely on interest spreads. But if people are borrowing, who can the banks lend to? There's just no one to lend to. Industrial enterprises face a lot of pressure when it comes to loans. And small and micro businesses are borrowing. The default rate is high. The best quality loans are long-term mortgages. But everyone rushing to pay off mortgages, banks face operational pressure. Banks are crucial to the country's system, and the financial system is fundamental infrastructure. If banks become unstable, the whole economy will be under pressure. So, Richard Koo's theory of balance sheet recession effectively explains Japan's recession, and it effectively explains the US recession. I believe this theory is crucial for explaining global economic recessions, and is relevant to China's current situation. Japan's past mirrors ours, a large population with insufficient demand. We face a similar lack of demand now. The May Day holiday showed this. People traveled, but on a budget, not spending much. Even the Zibo barbecue craze saw people camping for 3 days, a stark contrast to past spending habits. Consumption has downgraded, purchasing power is declining, and effective demand is insufficient. This situation is extremely prominent. So you have to think about these issues and observe this kind of structural change. This change is long-term, not something simple. It will profoundly affect our generation, or even 2 generations. It took Japan 30 years to climb out of this quagmire. China might have it even worse, because our scale is bigger, we have more problems, and structural issues run deeper. For us, it will take at least 2 generations, maybe over 60 years, to climb out. We need to observe this change. Whoever understands it first and takes action first will win. So you should really take a good look at these 2 parts when you go back. This theory wasn't invented by me, but personally, I really agree with it. Howard talks about cycles, and cycles objectively exist. Then Richard Koo very thoroughly explained and argued the similarities between Japan, the US recessions in 1929 and 1933, and the current recession China is facing. I think it's very much like what's happening in China.